Attorney General Dana Nessel was joined by officials from the Department of Justice and the FBI to announce state and federal charges against 13 members of 2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
We're grateful to the FBI and law enforcement to discover these domestic terrorists and stop them. You know, it's the sort of behavior you might expect from ISIS.
You might see a number that high in a sprawling narcotics conspiracy that stretches from coast to coast and beyond. That's a pretty high number in a case like this. It really reflects, I think, how deeply the government has been diving into this investigation to try to make these cases.
It was just literally a bunch of working class guys who on the weekend got together and, you know, exercised their rights and trained with firearms. So the FBI says, hey, we'll just pay for everything.
Who arranged the meeting? The FBI's paid provocateur. Robeson was getting paid to set this stuff up.
So they make the route, they set the locations, they make the plan, they do everything, and Adam's literally just sitting in the basement of a vacuum repair shop smoking blunts all day.
You're going to hear that my client was the leader of this group. But I think you're also going to hear that there was an election held to identify the leader, and it was Dan.
How can I frame a social situation to make this naive person appear to be a dangerous, violent terrorist? The whole goal was for the FBI to spend millions of dollars to create militia groups, record them saying offensive stuff, and then frame them in a fake conspiracy.
Hello and welcome to a very special Winning Saturday Night. How's everybody doing this evening? Hope you're doing well. So many people here already. We are broadcasting not only here on Winning Reality, but also over on the Gary Lamb Network and Matters of Opinion as well. We are all over the place tonight on many different platforms because this is that important. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's bring in our guest of honor. Here she comes.
The colors were chosen to show your allegiance to freedom, and remember that in the world of ordinary mortals, you are a Wonder Woman.
I believe I can handle
Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. All the world is waiting for you and the power you possess. In your satin tights, fighting for your rights, and the old red, white, and blue. Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. Now the world is ready for you.
Welcome, Radix Verum. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh man, I'm great. I'm great. So glad to see you. Welcome back to Winning Saturday Night.
Yeah. It was such a great intro. I feel like I had the outfit, the Wonder Woman outfit, before she peels it off and has her superhero costume on. When she's in the suit, I'm very similar.
Right? Yeah. We know you're out there fighting the good fight, you know, and you are a Wonder Woman. Everything you're doing behind this case and all the work you're putting in this documentary, being a mom, having to live life, man, you're doing it.
Yeah, it's rough.
Well, man, hopefully we got you some good coverage tonight, and people are really starting to pick up on this. We're broadcasting to another audience tonight, the Gary Lamb Network and Matters of Opinion as well. They're watching along, and they're gracious enough to help us spread the word as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Thank
they're
you.
great
I
people.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yep. So how have you been? Just like in general, just catching up.
Let me kind of scoot myself in a little closer. I feel like I'm kind of like in the background here. Hopefully people can see me better. I'm doing all right. I have been so busy though. I was just traveling to do some more interviews for the documentary, and there's so much going on. More happening like every minute. In fact, just before coming on here, we have learned that there's been a change in Barry's status. So Barry is one of the guys that was framed as a ringleader in the hoax. They actually came up with a new title. They called him the spiritual leader of a crime. But anyways, he's been in Terre Haute Supermax, and they had said they were moving him into the infamous communications management unit, where he basically would be prevented from contacting anybody except one 15-minute phone call per month. But he spoke to his fiance today, and she told me that he had his hearing about that, and they're now claiming that they're going to send him to an ADX population, meaning he'd get his own cell, which can be lonely. I mean, I think he's got a cellmate right now. He's in the shoe right now at Terre Haute. So it's just kind of crazy. And we don't really know what's happening. And the Bureau of Prisons is not, like nobody is overseeing that really, or holding these people accountable. And they do it to the January 6ers too. But the January 6ers are not they're in the DC gulag. But they're not in like Florence or Terre Haute Supermax. So it is worse, harsher conditions of confinement. And right now they have frozen Barry's commissary. So he cannot communicate. He can't send letters because he's unable to purchase stamps. And for whatever reason, I don't think we're allowed to send him stamp. Like they make everything so complicated. You know, the letters have to be a certain paper, and it has to be in a certain color envelope. You know, it's got to be a white envelope. It can't be a postcard, blah, blah, blah. There's all these stupid things. Everything is super expensive. So right now he can't communicate because first they overdrew his commissary account $2,000. So even when his, family who have modest financial means tried to put more in his commissary, thinking because when these guys are sentenced, right? Like Barry got 20 years in prison, and he's got like a $250,000 fine or something absurd like this. They're allowed to take out for restitution X amount of money from his commissary each month, but I think it's only supposed to be like $25 or $50 per month, because it's still supposed to be humane. But so they overdrew his account by $2,000. So even when his family tried to add a little more, thinking, oh, it must have overdrawn the $50 or whatever it was. No, that wasn't the case. So even adding another $100 doesn't help and was just being wasted. This is the kinds of things that they do. So when he was at Nuevo County, and I interviewed him for my documentary, I was able to do video visits with him, and he was able to call me, throughout the day. He could call me several times in a day as long as he had the money in his commissary for it. That's $5 for a 15-minute phone call, which is ridiculous.
Man.
But anyways, so I think I told you last time I was here that I got his statement while he was at Nuevo County for the weaponization committee. The next day, they moved him to Terre Haute, and they moved Adam to Supermax. And so it seems like they're trying to shut him up. So I was able to go from like being in a lot of contact with Barry, and he was really helping me with the documentary of where to look to find certain things, because he's seen everything. He spent 18 months in prison the first time prepping for everything, going through all of the discovery. They had nothing to do in there except do their own research. So then it was, once he was moved to Terre Haute, we were stuck communicating by letter. And he had told me before any of this happened, when I was still doing like the interviews with him in Nuevo, he told me eventually this would happen, that they would make it so that we were not able to do video visits anymore. Then they would cut off the phone calls. Then we'd be reduced to communicating via letters. Then they would make it so that he was unable to communicate that way. Then he, said that an accident would happen to him. And everything he said would happen has happened except him dying. That hasn't happened yet, but it is concerning.
That is concerning.
It's good, though, that just 2 days ago, his appeals lawyer, Mr. Sweeney, filed his appeals brief. Adam's appeals lawyer filed his. I was not impressed with Adam's appeal. Barry's appeal is much better, but it still lacks certain things. But that's a good thing. We know that at least that's something, and that will go to the Sixth Circuit, and they can decide whether or not to take it up. I think that they have a pretty strong case, but that's just me. They don't have any faith in the legal system.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
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 And
Well,
then
it's just amazing.
Yeah. On Monday, we have the last trial coming up. The case isn't over. There's a third trial coming up for 3 guys, Eric Molitor, and then Bill and Michael Null. That starts Monday in Antrim County for providing material support to terrorist acts or something, and felony firearms charge, because the government hosted and sponsored field training exercises and then invited these people to them, the Null brothers. They attended a few of these FTXs. They were maybe there for a few hours. They legally carried their firearms. And the government claims that that's providing personnel to a terrorist organization that, in fact, the FBI created. So that's disturbing. And because they legally carried their firearms while they were providing this supposed personnel, they claim that now they should go to jail for potentially 40 years.
Oh, man.
And for Eric was tricked into going on the daytime surveillance to Whitmer's vacation home. They didn't even have the right address. They were like driving around up there, and it was the FBI informant driving the vehicle. Eric didn't know where they were going. Like, he didn't have prior knowledge of like what the purpose of their trip was. He was told like, oh, hey, we're going to go up on like a day trip. I don't remember what they said, but they said some dumb shit about what they were going to do. He didn't know where he was going. He was lured there under false pretenses, and then they're using it against him. It's like, oh, we're going to trick you into showing up for something, which, by the way, let's also point out, driving around a street is not illegal. Nobody broke into her cottage. So even if they had the right directions and they went to the right place, even if they did that, if they didn't go on her private property, it's still not a crime, as much as they want this to be like a conspiracy or whatever.
Right. And it just surprised me with so much information about this. And it never really going down, that they've gotten this far in the prosecution, and they were able to manufacture this case against these guys in such a way. It just, for me, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, there it is. So this should be resolved shortly. And to hear that it's still rolling on and they're still tormenting this guy, these people, is just, it's flabbergasting. I was like, honestly, I'm just like almost speechless. It just, no, but that's why what you're doing, your work is so important. I mean, I see so much more in this. This being the central focus, yes, but I see so much more coming out of this. Like, you've seen we have been titling the videos and kind of promoting this, is that you're really unveiling a methodology that's been going on for a long time.
Oh, yeah. This is like their modernization of just the PatCon stuff that they were doing in the late 80s and early 90s. We haven't had like another Waco yet, but this is very, very similar. And it is the same kind of like methodology, as you said, of what they did during PatCon. But actually, it's even, I would suggest, worse, because in the PatCon days, they infiltrated these, right-wing extremist militia group, whatever you want, white supremacist groups, whatever you want to call them. I mean, I think most of the time they were literally manufacturing them. But most of that, like, it didn't go anywhere. They didn't lead to like prosecutable crimes, so like when they did this, like in COINTELPRO, and they were infiltrating anti-war like leftist organizations, they would actually get them to commit acts of like domestic terrorism or whatever. And so those ended up going to trial, and it would come out like, this is how we heard about COINTELPRO that long ago, because you get discovery in these cases. But the PatCon stuff, that didn't happen. And so we didn't even hear about the existence of PatCon until 2007. A Newsweek article disclosed the existence of it. And that article was heavily, heavily edited from the original version. And so, you know, I had been looking into like Ruby Ridge, Waco, Oklahoma City, all as under the PatCon umbrella, because I hadn't really seen anybody talking about PatCon. I'd been looking into it like around 2019, 2020, in reference to something else I was researching. But it's so interesting because when this happened, immediately I was like, PatCon 2.0, you know?
Oh yeah, well, there's also the underwear bomber, the shoe bomber, all these things that were going on at that time too. After that point, I mean, I guess that still had the same element of it, right?
Oh, yeah. Like the FBI's post 9/11 global war on terror or whatever, and the post 9/11 terrorism cases. There was like a 2015 study from a professor at SUNY Fredonia that studied like 560 of these quote unquote like post 9/11 terrorism cases. And they found that out of 560, 370, I believe it was, had elements of entrapment. And so they concluded that the FBI is mostly manufacturing terrorism cases. And that was in 2015, looking at, you know, mostly like Islamic terrorism or whatever. But it doesn't really matter. It's the same tactics and stuff, the same thing that they do. They just do to other people. Like you can look at some of these Islamic terror cases and it's like, oh yes, they preyed upon like a mentally handicapped 18-year-old kid or something. Like, yeah, they're doing the same thing to like right-wing 18-year-old white kids or whatever. You know, it's the same thing. It's just different terrorisms, like different boogeymen that we need to be scared of, apparently.
Yeah, I've been calling this, and it kind of aligns with what I'm doing on Unveiling Reality, and this what we're talking about on this channel is manufactured crisis, and this would be the manufactured crisis optics, right? So they manufactured these events to form their narrative, their establishment narrative, that everybody on this side acts this way, and this is what they're trying to do, and this is why you should be scared of them, and this is why you need us, right, to be empowered to take care of this stuff for you. Yeah, it's all about this. Yeah. Yeah, and they've been doing that for a while, and this was what, if you remember, we talked about last time too, the crisis actor staged event narrative. I've talked about that a lot here because I was in front of that trying to beat that information down as it was coming out. Because what I had figured out is it wasn't that they were performing these Hollywood productions and that nobody was getting hurt here. No, people were getting hurt. It's just the media was adopting the narrative and shifting it into 2A, shifting it into Homeland Security, whether it was shootings or bombings, right? So, and that's what people were seeing. And because the media was doing such a sloppy job in coverage just to get it spun into that gun control narrative or that Homeland Security narrative, they were leaving gaps and they were leaving anomalies out there that people were picking up on and running with, right? Well, that made it real easy for the COINTELPRO side to come out with these outlandish ideas and spread it amongst the people who don't trust the media and the government, right? Mm-hmm. So you have all these people discrediting themselves with this idea that these are all big staged plays and Hollywood productions, which are impossible. Yet behind the scenes, you're pointing out, and this is what I love about this topic and what you're doing, that you're pointing out the methodology of how this was going on in the background. Like, for the gun control stuff, that was just an easy kind of like just sack it with information, but they got to find the informants first. And I think we talked about this last time too. The informants, they get these guys that they've already busted them. So they flip them and they put them to work. They go, either you're going into federal max for life or you're going to do work with us and do it.
This is why so many of them are pedophiles, by the way. You'll notice that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why is so many of the informants pedophiles? Because they're pedophiles.
Yeah. They catch them online. Yeah. They get them trapped. They catch them online, and instead of putting them in jail, putting them up on that wall, they let them go free right? And they say just work for us and help us do this other stuff. And that's why it turns out that way. These guys are like, well, now they gotta the proverbial gun to their head, going, I gotta do this or else, right? Well, or else you get what you deserve, right? But you should be going to jail for that stuff, not sitting out
Deserve
walking
worse
free.
than that, but I will. I'll refrain from Fed casting.
Right. We are all thinking it. We're all thinking it. But yeah. But So this is why it's important, because I think it reminds me of like Sound of Freedom in a way, your documentary, in a sense that it can be that important to raise this issue up and make the awareness out there.
Yeah, and I will say too. I'll say that from the trailer, like what y'all see in the trailer is the trailer's designed to show a certain thing, like what you'll see in the actual documentary. It might surprise you going off of the trailer, right? So that's just one trailer for it. There's going to be another one, an updated one, but I think that's kind of, there's a lot in the documentary that I think is going to be. I don't really see anybody on our side doing it to the level of that we're trying to get production wise and like the look of it. We're trying to kind of do something that would take a team with a budget and stuff, to do. We want to be able to basically do that, but with, very little resources. Yep. I think that when people see it, though, they'll think that it was something that was a project that was funded, by massive, like a big donor or something, because it's just so, I'm very proud of it, but I might be biased.
No, it's awesome work, and you're doing the good work, and you're part of solution culture because you're out there talking about how the game is rigged and trying to unrig the game. And that's how we can remove enablement from these things. Yeah.
And I think too, that when you see these people who they really are, and that they're just like family men with kids and wives and stuff, and you see their moms talking about them, I think that there will be an impact there that will humanize these guys, because they've been so dehumanized. The only pictures you see of them are those pictures, those mugshots that are designed to make them look a certain way, designed them to make them look dangerous or like criminals or whatever. And or they'll take pictures that the FBI filmed of them going through the FTXs, the obstacle courses that the FBI set up for them. They'll be running through the obstacle course with their plate carriers and their big guns. And for some people, that looks very scary. And so, but these are the only things that you see when you Google their names or you pull up any articles about it. You're going to see mainstream media stories with images like that. And what I'm trying to do is show the other side to these people, show them with their families and who they really are. And I think that will be very, very impactful. And I think that when people hear too, like how this has victimized their children and everybody, like, you just can't look away from that, Right.
Yeah, absolutely. All just to create an optic and a narrative. These guys never had any inkling or any plan to ever do any of this stuff, but there they are being framed one after the other just because they're being set up in this situation. Like you're like the guy was saying in the trailer, how can we set up these ordinary people to make them look like they're radical, crazy people, out to get you folks? Because that supports the narrative of the establishment that has to convince everybody that the patriots and the people that are trying to reform and remove the corruption in this country are the bad guys, and that they're all out there ready to cause violence and do all this stuff. Meanwhile, they excuse all the violence you see on the left, all the riots, all the destruction of property, all that stuff. They excuse that. And just the more that we call it out, the more that we can start waking more people up. Like I think tonight we have an audience that maybe a lot of the audience hasn't heard the story or understand the details of the story. And I just want to point out, thank you guys so much for being here, and please give us a thumbs up, and on it, whatever you're at, whatever channel you're watching on, please give us a thumbs up and check out this Give, Send, Go of Radix Verum here. It has the trailer on it, but also this is where you can go donate if you're interested in helping out. And you can see that she's taking this all on herself, and the amount of work and effort to travel, to do the interviews, to set up the production, to do the editing, all the things that need to go with this to make this big. She really, really needs our support. This a documentary like this could lead to the end of these type of operations. We have to be able to at least, it could. And we at least have to be able to put it in people's minds. So when they see something, they know to question that and don't make rash judgments about what you're seeing when it's coming from these people.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing, the other thing too, is that like, I love true crime, I love stuff like that. So I've sort of like, I kind of want to incorporate that kind of feeling into the documentary, which I think is very popular with people that are not just in our paradigm, right? That has the opportunity to reach other people that maybe wouldn't like know anything about this stuff, or if they've heard of it at all, they've only heard like one side of the story. So yes, I think that it could be the kind of thing that also finally gets an investigation into the FBI, or at least has some of these agents charged criminally. Because quite frankly, the only people who plotted to kidnap and kill governors was the FBI. Like literally, I have their emails as they're planning the entire thing. So if anybody's going to be charged with a conspiracy to kidnap, weapons of mass destruction, etc., it should be Special Agent Chambers, Impala, Trask, actually any of the agents that were involved. I think the undercover agents, Mark Schweers and Timothy Bates, yes, I will name them. I think they should be charged criminally as well. All of them. They
should. Yeah, it's abuse, and they're abusing the American people. They're abusing their positions of power. They're abusing our system, and they're causing all this division, right? All this division so that they can justify their existence and what they're doing, right? And justify their power. And it's just like they keep us completely at odds with each other, completely untrusting of each other, so that they can continue to rule over us. And that's like with Gary Lamb and what we're doing on Repairing History together, Gary Lamb Network and the Matters of Opinion and so on. We're talking about that. We're healing division on that level. These are things that we can do as individuals to start making a difference and having conversations that they didn't want us to have. We started by repairing the history with Thomas Sowell, right? Putting back in those omitted facts, going back to the real story about the past, not the one they try to make us believe today, right?
You guys, you would love Barry. You would love Barry. I actually have a paper he wrote on Barry, like it loves like the founding fathers, the Constitution. Like he knows so much stuff. You guys would love him because he it sounds like what you're talking about is trying to like restore the history. That sounds exactly like Barry. I actually have like stuff he's written in prison. Like he writes kind of like essays and stuff that he wants published that are very interesting. I have them somewhere. I don't know if this is the right one, but yeah, you would like Barry for sure. When he gets out, I'll have to have you talk to him. We'll have to get more of his stuff published. I published one of his essays, but there's more. And I'm trying to get him to work on writing a book like about his story. He had a manuscript he was starting. I have that. I have part of it, and one of his other friends has the other part. But it's just very difficult. And right now, he's so demoralized. Like he does not think he's getting out alive. He just told his fiance that today. So I think that's concerning. And I think it's concerning and distressful to him that he's not able to speak to me anymore. I don't know if they were giving him my letters, because I asked. They do these games where, he sent me a letter back in May and I didn't get it until 2 months later. And they do it so that you think that he's not writing to you, or they'll withhold my letters from him. So he thinks I'm not writing to him. And they do this with him and his fiance. They were holding her letters. Now she's smart. She scanned every single one that she sent so she could show to him just in case they weren't delivering them. I've been writing to you this entire time. It's just insane.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yep. It is awful, and it's unconstitutional, and it's not how you should be treated. You're supposed to be innocent to proven guilty, right? It's not how you should be treated and like that. It's mind games. It's more psych warfare, but it's just inside the prison industrial complex, right?
Right.
And that obviously they can. Mhm.
He's like in Terre Haute is in Indiana. His family is in Florida and Delaware. Like they did not put him near his family. He is not close to his daughters. He's got 3 daughters that he was raising that are now with their mother, who had nothing to do with them for years. So they make it so that they make it so difficult to contact them, but they know too that putting them in these places are that far from their families that, you know, their families won't get to see them that often because it's such a financial burden just putting money in the commissary and paying for the phone calls. And now they're limited to 1 15-minute phone call per month. 1 15-minute call per month. And they get a 3-inch rubber pencil to write letters with.
Wow, man, this is going on. Hey, everybody, this is what we're paying for. Our tax dollars are paying for this kind of treatment and these type of activities. Isn't that great to know? It's like while we're sitting here trying to struggle to get by, while prices are going up, while we're getting involved in foreign affairs and all these other things, our money's going out the window. The money we're paying here at home is going to treat people this way and to cause these type of events to happen, just to make us consent, basically manufacturing our consent to put more money into the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah. So they can keep doing this crap to more innocent people.
It's a cycle. And it's a cycle of abuse that keeps rolling on. You see, when someone lies to you, when someone misleads you, when someone's two-faced to you, that's abuse. And we got to call it what it is. Right? You're being abused by that individual when they do that, whether it's a person or a group or a government.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's a cycle of abuse. Radix, I don't know if you've seen
that you said that cycle of abuse. Like I actually have, I don't know if you've seen them. Like I have videos on my channel about like narcissism. I have to finish my playlist because I have a bunch of them, and then I just created the playlist and I put only a few of them in there, and I have more. I just have to add them to the playlist that are already have been on my channel for a while. But I feel like you can learn so much about the tactics of the state just by studying on the individual case level, like psychopathic individuals or narcissism, personality disorders, because that's what many of the people in government are these people, right? There's the Ponerology thing, the Polish guy who wrote about how like cluster B types, tend to get into they do very well in like the corporate world. So they become like executives and then they surround themselves with other psychopaths. And it's the same thing in government until you have this concentration of psychopaths. And then they cover for each other and they all look out for each other, even if they pretend they're on the opposite side of the political spectrum.
Yep. Micro to macro, man. Micro to macro. We see it in our day-to-day lives. We see it like with relationships. Like I'm a survivor, T3 is a survivor. Like we both started our channels under the same premise. It's wild. Like that's how the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial led to this, but it was like, where can I help? Where can I help? Led my experience to knowledge to help other people. Right. And it turned into what I'm doing now. But like a lot of people were inspired by the Depp Heard trial and the outing of this narcissistic abuse thing that's going on.
Oh my God, going too far right?
off the topic. Yeah.
Amber Heard's like mental illnesses. Whew.
Right.
I mean, she's so extreme too. Just the performance that she gave in that trial was itself bizarre. It's a bizarre like display of those mental illnesses. Just the way that she oscillated between these different like crying and then she'd like snicker and it's like, oh my God, like she is unable to control herself, is she? Like they tell on themselves all the time, and I don't even know if they are self-aware enough to know that they're telling on themselves. They give themselves away with the histrionics, which she was engaging in.
Yeah, they sure do. They actually do, but you have to know how to look for it because otherwise people just either they blow it off, they say, well, it's not me, so I just want to try to get along with everybody. And like the way that they gain enablement is very, very sneaky, and it's very to the common person who hasn't been affected by people like that, at least not knowingly, and maybe not like directly with a parent or directly with a spouse or a significant other. They haven't actually been through the rigged game with somebody that's running this gimmick on them, right? They don't understand it, and they think they understand it, but they don't understand it until it's like someone. It's like you know it after you know one and have been through it, then you get it because then you've had to experience it, right? Yeah, but nobody can help you that hasn't been through it.
No, it's such a good point, especially for like a more covert narcissist that uses like empathy and compassion, manipulates people's already existing empathy, that hides behind like meekness and humility, and pretends to be very kind and a great person. I think things like that can be terrifying because a lot of times normal people would not see that person coming. They may be expecting like a more grandiose narcissist that is very like loud and flashy and they're obvious at what they are. It's the more covert kind that I think are more cunning, and I think that regular people don't see them coming, and oftentimes like they excuse the behavior. They don't even recognize it. It can take many times of going through the cycle of abuse until they start to realize that this person gaslights me all the time, pathologically lies, is a different person than their public persona, because it takes a while for their mask to fall down because they always maintain a facade, especially like early on when they're first like getting to know somebody, people that they view as like interchangeable objects. And I think for normal people who don't think that way, it can be very jarring. Nobody
you don't expect it.
Yeah, nobody wants to assume that there are people out there who are predatory.
Yeah, it helped me late. I mean, it hit me late in life, like 10 years ago. 13 years ago now, 14 years ago. But it hit me late in life. Like I never saw it coming, and I couldn't believe it when it did. Because at the very most important part of my life, starting a family, having a child, all of a sudden I'm hit with this thing. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like I don't even get it anymore. Like I'm doing everything to try to make things right. And to work things out and to have a family. And here's someone that's working against me at every turn. And I just don't get it. It's just, it was just, it took me a long time to figure it out, to get over it, to get through the mental, like the impact to it. And then to seek out the information, right. And then learn about it and then to escape, and to get to a place where me and my son were safe. Right. So it took a long time to get through that. But yeah, if you think you got it covered, you think you can't be hit by it and you've never had it happen to you before, you're probably a prime target. I mean, it could happen.
Even people who are aware of this stuff, like who know about it, they can even be fooled.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nobody is above being conned. There are some very smooth operators out there, that's for sure, and nobody's above that.
Yep. And I just had to deal with a whole bunch of that stuff recently too. So I totally know it's still out there, and that's why I tell people you got to remove the enablement from people like that. You can't excuse bad behavior. And like what I do is like when I realize what's going on and it's around me, like I'm out of there. I will not enable bad behavior. I'm gone. It's over. You're a ghost, and I don't believe in ghosts. So I don't talk about them. So that's how I handle it, man. You got to get up and leave.
They hate that too.
Oh yeah, it drives them crazy. This
You deprive them of like the attention that they need and the validation. Like they will seethe.
Yep, they will. Yeah, these people are still seething at me, but it's all right. They can see the rest of their lives. So I don't care. All of them. No, because we're moving on. We're trying to actually do the good work and get the message out there. And your videos are awesome about it. I started on that. We bring it up a lot on this channel. And I just want to show you this. You probably haven't seen this, but this is the board I've been working on for Unveiling Reality. And we're going to get back on topic here in a second. But I just wanted to show Radix this because when she was here last time, I don't think I had this all the way up and going. But it's talking about the veils of perception and a sense of what we're born into, this establishment narrative. And you can see, the left-right paradigm, where we're hit with public schools and the type of economics and all these different things that are out there. And we start hitting with the political correctness, then we're into feminism and CRT and wokeness. And you get all the way down these different things that most people are falling into and believing, right? Even down to ancient aliens, right? People will believe stuff like that. We see it on TV, right?
Yes.
We cover all that here on the channel. You see right in the fringe here, we got like the culture war, we got COINTELPRO, disinformation, censorship, the drug culture, and then generational grooming as a generationally grooming the last generation to subvert the young to change the culture. And then once people like us kind of like say, okay, look, we see through this, right? This is the demoralization stage of ideological subversion, right? And what these two veils are doing is manufacturing division between us, and also where the control of language exists, right? So they tell us what to say, what we can and can't say, try to control, censorship.
And they'll change
words.
definitions of words,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They did that at the trial for these guys. Like the judge changed the definition of entrapment. They can do that. Oh, we're just gonna. We want to win and we want to not have to deal with anything. We'll just change the definition, until it meets our little threshold or whatever.
So a lot of guys like that were in that group that got kind of pulled in, they were probably living right here in the second veil, right? The alternative narrative, right? The alternative to the establishment narrative, usually conspiratorial, right? You get these online trolls. And I need to add Fed informants probably in this too, right? You got the guys that are grifting out the conspiracies, and you got the people that are kind of heavily involved. And I think you probably got a lot of the federale kind of like think people like would fall in this group right here, right? But we're right now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're talking about like where people get stuck in here, right? Because what happens is you get stuck in this veil, and you don't know really what to do because there's no solutions here. You can hear about all these things. You can hear about this New World Order and Illuminati and reptilians and galactic federations of lives and QAnons and sovereign citizen movements and crisis actors and stage events. You can hear about it. You can't do anything about it. All you do is get there and you spread more of it, right? So it's about breaking through this. Yeah. And that's the destabilization factor, right? And so this group is pointing at this group saying they're the problem, right? And they're pointing back at these people saying that's the problem. We got division, manufactured division right there.
Oh yeah. So I'll just give an example. The informants. So there's a meeting that it's like I have to. It's a long story, but I swear it'll have a point. There's this meeting that the FBI they call and share the meeting. It's like a nationwide meetup of militia groups. So that's what they're trying to bill it as, right? They had their informant Robeson publicizing this before, and he's kind of advertising as this like nationwide meetup of militia groups. Now, this is a meeting that is being called and shared by the FBI with numerous informants wearing recording devices. Not only are they wearing a wire recording that's being transmitted in real time to the FBI agents, but they're also wearing like a backup recording device. So some of these informants literally have 2 fucking recording devices on them. And then they've got like 4 of them there. And then everybody else that's at this meeting is targets, people the FBI want to target. So they have one of their informants posing as the head of the Tennessee chapter of a fake militia group that the FBI completely manufactured from whole cloth called the Patriot 3%ers. They had Robeson, the pedophile, posing as the head of the Wisconsin chapter, Plunk posing as the head of the Tennessee chapter. They had another one posing as the head of another state chapter. I don't remember which state it was, but then they tell Adam he's going to be made the head of the Michigan chapter of this fake militia group that doesn't exist. But anyway, so at this meeting, right, they have this meeting that they call, and they kind of want to, the informants are trying to basically incite the targets into saying something. And they're saying things like, one of the informants is saying like, we can't just do brick and mortar without a human target. All you've done is take brick and mortar, blah, 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 like things like this, right? So at this meeting, you've got a lot of different people from different states. They're at a hotel called the Drury Inn in Columbus, Ohio, which, by the way, unbeknownst to these people, the FBI has commandeered the entire thing and is watching it all. They've got agents stationed around everywhere. Like none of this every time there's a meeting or an FTX, there's so many agents monitoring in real time. Like the idea that anyone was in danger at all is just nonsensical. The agents themselves knew that this was bullshit and like wasn't going to happen, but they were trying to make it happen. Anyways, to make a long story short, one of the informants, some of the guys go outside to smoke, and they're smoking copious amounts of marijuana that the FBI is providing them, and they're drinking alcohol also provided by the FBI. And one of
that we're throwing a party for him.
So well, this is in June of 2020 in Ohio. As I said, they're at this this meeting, and some of the people, since they're coming from out of state, they're going to maybe stay the night at a hotel there, right? So they're going to be there at least throughout the night. So one of the informants is trying to rile these people up and trying to get them to go armed into a BLM riot that was happening in Columbus that night. So the FBI tried to basically get these guys to go armed into a BLM Antifa riot where there could have been, someone could have been killed, something bad could have happened. But also one of the undercover agents, the one who posed as an explosives expert in the Fednapping case, trying to offer explosives to these guys that nobody was interested in, he may have also been an undercover agent who was trying to get a BLM activist to assassinate the Attorney General of Colorado. And Trevor Aronson, who I think he wrote the book from 2012 called The Terror Factory. He's got a podcast series he's been doing called Alphabet Boys, going through these stories, right? And this story about this BLM activist who meets an undercover FBI agent, and the agent tries to get him to take out this Colorado Attorney General. It just so happens to probably be Timothy Bates. His undercover name was Red when he was posing as the explosives expert in the Michigan case. And also he went by the name Red in Colorado, in the Denver BLM scene. He was presenting himself as like a former operator or whatever who could get firearms for people and explosives. And he was posing as like a veteran or whatever. And I think he may actually be a veteran, but there was a picture of his arm and his tattoos, and there was a recording of his voice. And we had Brandon listen to it, and Brandon said, "That's him. That's Red." From our case. So you have the same undercover FBI agent, Special Agent Timothy Bates, posing as Red undercover in a BLM case and the Whitmer case, trying
y'all
to
hear
incite
that?
both to violence. And so there you have it. And then you have the FBI trying to get these guys to go armed into a BLM riot. So you know that there were other informants or feds at that riot.
Exactly. And look, that's what's going on, guys, while we're sitting at home. This is what they're doing out there. They're spinning people up. They're playing both sides. They're manufacturing crisis optics out of this, and they're pitting people against each other. They create these groups. And just say, hey, we're pointing out the Michigan Whitmer stuff, right? But it goes way back. It goes into other groups. It goes way back to they go left and right. Don't think that they're just on the right side. It's just patriots they're doing. They're doing it on the left side too. They do it in they do it in minority groups. They do it in patriot groups. They do it all over. So if you don't think you've been affected by it, you've been affected by it in some way, most likely, in one way or another.
Well, and what you're going to be affected by is the legal precedent that's being established right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're getting away with it. That's why it's so important that we get behind this and support her. Now, I wanted to and dude, for real, like, please spread the word. If I invited a lot of bigger channels to come view this at least tonight and consider having you on as if they feel that this is important that for their channel or it works for them. I sent it out to everybody I could. And I also sent it out to the guys who produced The Last Stop, which is the Elon School documentary. Okay. Hopefully Mark is watching tonight. Great friend of mine, great friend of the channel. They're big activists in the troubled teen industry, where a lot of the breaking of the youth is going on, right? The for profit. And so they put out documentaries too. It really is. It really is. But that's where you get people that grow up to do bad things like this. Oh yeah, I'll
I know. Or the perfect, targets and patsies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why they need them. That's how they break them. That's the cycle of abuse that's going on. And that's what I was trying. Let me just wrap this up here. That's what I was trying to get to with you on this, was like the cycle of abuse is the third veil, right? So when you see beyond this stuff, you realize that there's a cycle of abuse that's been going on. We're all born into it. It's been going on for a while. You know why? Because the cycle of abuse that's funded by the next veil, which is where all the global ownership class is, where all the money and power is, this keeps their cycle of control going. So these two trauma-based mind control types of mind control, trauma-based types of mind control, keep it going. You see what's right there, right? You see creating these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just
creating these people power all the bad stuff that's going on over here, including the crime. It fills the prisons up. It fills up the troubled teen industry places. It gets people on drugs. It gets people turning against each other. It divides people. This is what we're talking about here. And then as you can see, this is us right here. Radix, this is us. We're the fifth veil. We're the solution culture. They don't see us coming, but we're the ones with the solutions that are cut. We're going to pop them into place. That's going to remove the enablement for this stuff. We can't go head on at them, right? We have to like take a 3-tiered approach, right? We have to go the political route. We have to go the social route, and we have to go the future route. That's like the culture war that Tim Pool's working on, and getting our education right with like Thomas Sowell history and the trivium, bring the trivium back into education, teaching logic, role model leadership, like get Gary and Walls and the people and Gary.
They don't want people to know logic though, because oh no, you might figure out their bullshit. They don't want you to be able to see through it. And to ask those questions, they don't want people to learn the critical thinking skills or even independent thinking. I mean, how many people have one original thought of their own? How many people just go through life watching TV and just repeating things that are other people's ideas, or mimicking other people's style or whatever? I feel like there's just this like originality issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like NPC culture or whatever. This is a thing now, like the NPC fetish, where you have these girls who are literally getting paid to say NPC video game character stuff, and then to act as if they're in some video. It's so weird. It is. It's weird. If you haven't seen it, guys, look this up. It's creepy. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. Like the monoculture stuff, where you have all these, and I feel like for these young kids too, that are groomed on social media and on Instagram and stuff, that are just like, they have no idea what they're doing. They just see things and they don't understand what they're looking at. And then I feel like it creates this issue where you have all of these girls that are all trying to get lip filler, and they're all, trying to like get the same plastic surgeries, and then they all start looking the same, or they start looking like the same Instagram filters or something. And then they all morph into like the same e-girl. And it's so sad because it's like those poor girls have been groomed from the time they're kids with Disney princess movies and all this other programming. Like they don't know. It's not their fault that they're doing this stuff. They just are following the stuff that's being presented to them, and then they get rewarded for that behavior by society. They have the simps on there, liking their posts and giving them the dopamine hits, and then it just makes it worse.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is. It's an ongoing cycle. And that's what, I think it gets back around to, we got to get our families right? We got to get back to having good relationships in our families. And that's something that Gary and Wallace P at the Matters of Opinion, Gary Lamb Network, that's what they're doing over there. And if it's okay, I'd like to bring them in and kind of go into a QA session with you guys. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Gary Lamb. There he is. And Wallace P. He's behind that icon right there. He's right there. Hey guys,
what up, everybody? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. How's everything? Yo, thank you for coming on. I truly appreciate you coming on. I really do.
Thank you for having me on and letting me talk about the case and the documentary. I love doing that.
And you're like the first. I'm not used to women of your caliber using the word simp either. That threw me. I was like, she knows the word simp. Holy cow. Like,
you should go look at my channel.
I feel so much better. I'm like, she knows simp. Oh, okay. Shoot, I just text Wally, like, she used the word simp. Like, You went from educated way down to sister girl, like in that quick. Hey, hold up. Oh,
facts.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. No, but I just think that was it's a good point to be made, and also the issue with like pornography too, grooming children. I think is horrible because I hear like stories of young kids like watching and being exposed to pornography at very young ages. You know, like 12. And it changes your brain. It changes your brain chemistry. And it makes me think how many of these poor kids go on to emulate this stuff to people in the real world and like emulate abusive behavior, toxic behavior. I think it's very sad. And I think it's destroyed an entire generation of people's ability to like have proper relationships with people, you know.
I agree.
It's sad.
Yeah.
And I also think that part of this too is like this generation of like aimless young men who don't have wives, they don't have children, they get, you know, called incels and all this other stuff. But there is a reason that these guys got wrapped up into this Fednapping hoax, and it is because they're isolated, they're lonely. They're sort of the forgotten people. And then all of a sudden you have, you know, a federal informant befriend you, and you don't know this is an informant. You think that it's just some guy that you met or whatever. And the way that the informants manipulate people, you know, for somebody like Adam, who's homeless at the time and living in the basement of the vac shack, he has Dan. Yeah, he's got this FBI informant telling him he's special, you know, and that he is going to be in charge of this, you know, we're going to put you in charge of this militia group, and, you know, telling him he's a leader and stuff. Meanwhile, Adam can't even properly handle his firearm or something, you know, he does not. And he himself acknowledges like he doesn't have the training as some of the other guys who are basically like laughing at him and stuff. But this is, you know, and then you can see the volume of contact between the informants and the targets. They are manipulating them daily pressuring them and suggesting things to them. And you can just see that these are guys that they wanted to be part of a group. They wanted to feel like they were doing something meaningful. They wanted to feel like they belonged and had like a group of brothers or something, because they don't have any community. They don't have friends. You know, a lot of these people, they were introduced to each other by the FBI informants. Like they didn't even know each other until the FBI introduced them all together. And so you can see though how all of these problems that we have in society they're all interconnected and they're all related. Like the incel problem in a way is kind of connected to the Whitmer thing. An entire generation of aimless young men looking for purpose and looking to be part of something bigger than themselves. You know, and then here comes the FBI. Oh, want to kidnap the governor? Yeah. Right. Or want to go shoot the attorney general, whatever it is. The FBI comes in to try to make it happen.
Wow. Yeah. It's crazy too, because I heard about the whole FBI or informant being like and BLM. And when you look at things in the history of time, like the CIA and FBI had their hands in so much corruption. Like when it comes to the Black community, that's how guns got into communities. That's how drugs got into communities. You got Project MK Ultra. You got all these different things that the government had their hands on, and people just turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah. They still do.
Yeah,
still do, because they don't want to be bothered with it. Like it doesn't affect them, so why do they care? See, so a lot of this is just I don't care. So it's like we got to make you care somehow. I don't know how to do it, but we got to make you care a little bit, because it's far too much. I don't care, and they turn a blind eye. They turn the station because this doesn't entertain me. How can I? And a lot of people probably feel helpless from it. Well, they don't want to know about it because they feel kind of helpless. I mean, like, all right, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? The heck I can do. I can, you know what I'm saying? What is? I don't have no money to be giving nobody, so they change the channel. So it's a lot of things in between, and then you have all those other people who think, like you said earlier, Christina, you think you can't be got. And it's one thing that I've learned from Donovan Sharp. I mean, not Donovan Sharp, excuse me, Dante Nero is everybody gets got. Everybody gets got. I don't care how smooth you are. You can be 007, 008 is coming around the corner eventually. You're going to get got, you know? So you just can't believe that you're not, you know, you can't believe that you're that wise where you can't be caught up out there. I've been caught up out there many times.
All it takes is for you to be down and out and on your luck.
Yeah.
Somebody to prey on that, whatever it is that you're going through. And there you go.
Yeah, that was Adam.
Your hands, yeah.
He's homeless, living in the basement of the vac shack. He had just lost, I believe, his grandfather, who he was like really close to. His grandmother had passed away, you know, so he was like in a very vulnerable spot. And then there comes the FBI and a slew of informants who work on him, not just one, multiple informants. You know, it's crazy. So, and like you said, so many people don't care. I've tried to talk about this story. I've been covering it for 3 years now, since 2020, almost 3 years now, since October of 2020. And it seems like for many people, until it personally affects them, they don't care, because they do think that this couldn't happen to them. I've had people tell me, you know, oh, well, I wouldn't put myself in that situation. It's like what? Like, oh, well, I wouldn't join any groups. And it's like, okay, but half of these guys didn't join any groups. They got invited to like one field training exercise or one meeting or whatever. They weren't part of a group either, but they were at the wrong place at the wrong time and walked into an active terrorism enterprise investigation. So it can
I have a clip that I want you guys to hear. See, continue. I'm gonna go get the clip for you, because you're saying something that's very profound, because a lot of people don't realize how easy you can be played, right? And let me just I'll go get the clip. Y'all continue.
And I got a clip that you guys can play also.
Cool.
That speaks on kind of, especially on the diagram that you had winning up. I got a clip that definitely plays on all of that. That speaks on it.
Cool. Hey, and Radix, now I remember hearing that this was they were supposed to plan this whole Fednapping thing. It wasn't supposed to be just Michigan, right? It was supposed to be many places, and this was kind of like a primer for another event, right?
Well, so yes, they wanted it to be a multi-state terror plot. You know, we have the text messages in the discovery of the FBI saying mission is to kill the governor specifically. That was actually not in reference to Whitmer. That was in reference to Ralph Northam, because the FBI was trying to coax a 70-something-year-old disabled Vietnam veteran named Frank Butler from Virginia into kidnapping, killing Ralph Northam. And they also sent him ingredients to make homemade explosives and told him to double the ingredients. Luckily, he didn't do it. He could have taken out his entire block, you know, if he had done that. But they wanted it to be 15 states, I believe, because they had targets in 15 different states. And it seemed as if they were doing something where they were trying to create these other militia groups. They tried to create something called the Midwest Coalition. Those details are vague because we don't have access to the full picture. We don't have all of the documents, but yeah, it seemed like they wanted it to be multiple, quote, militia groups storming state capitals or kidnapping governors or whatever, that they were going to rush in and foil this multi-state terror plot. You know, this didn't happen. Like, they couldn't get that off the ground, but they wanted to. It was, however, the dry run for January 6th. They had these anti-lockdown and pro-2A rallies in Michigan in the summer of 2020. There was some in April. There was another one in June. But during the one in April, I think it was the April 30th one, there was one April 15th and one April 30th. Some of the members of the Wolverine Watchmen went into the Capitol. So there was a bunch of people, about 400 people went into the Lansing Capitol at this rally. So they were all armed. They were all wearing their play carriers, whatever. And the one of the FBI informants, he's, you know, wearing his wire, and he's like reporting to his handler, his FBI handler, in real time. By the way, agents are stationed all around the Michigan Capitol. And he says, I think these guys are getting ready to do something. So the FBI calls the Lansing Capitol Police and tells them to open the doors, stand down, and let everybody in. So these guys actually went through COVID screening. They stood in line and went through screening to get in. And then the media the next day runs with this story of like right-wing extremists storm the Capitol in Michigan and have pictures of the watchmen in there armed in the Capitol. And this is the trial run for January 6th. Stephen D'Antuono, who was head of the Detroit FBI field office at the time, was promoted 1 week after these men were arrested. They were arrested October 7th and 8th. He is promoted October 13th of 2020 to be the assistant director of the Washington, D.C. field office, and he is overseeing January 6th when it happens. He also bungled the January 6th pipe bomb thing, who still has yet to be apprehended. Wonder who could that have been, who put that there, you know? But anyways, this guy's very corrupt. So the entire thing is a hoax. And yes, it was the dry run. They wanted it to be a multi-state terror plot, and it was the dry run for January 6th. Yeah. And the guy, like the guy that was head of the Detroit office, got promoted to run and oversee the January 6th storming of the Capitol. That's not a coincidence.
Well, yeah, obviously. They were working that crowd in a different way, through a different mechanism to spin them up. But then there's the Epps guy, right? That they never, everybody's like, who is Ray Epps?
Ray
right?
Epps. Yes, exactly.
The agitator.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to learn too. If Ray Epps isn't an FBI CHS, I wonder if he's not working for a DHS component or a federal contractor. Just because he may not be an FBI CHS does not mean he's not a government provocateur or informant. People don't understand and discount that the government outsources a lot of this stuff too to contractors. Federal contractors are not subject to FOIA, so why not use them? They do. That's why these contractors make so much money. And some of them even admit on their own damn websites that they're infiltrating right-wing groups and monitoring them.
Wow.
Yeah. It's quite a rabbit hole, and this has been going again. We're paying for all this, and this is what they're doing, right? And then they do it in a very timely manner to keep their narrative going, and especially at that time with the Whitmer and the J6, it was right around the election time, right? So
yes, that's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And the FBI themselves wanted to get it done before the election.
Yep.
They themselves said that. Yeah, they were planning it that way. Like they wanted that. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, so they use the control of the communication, the control of language, right? They use the abuse cycle, like the people that are being abused, people that are in situations, they target them. They get these criminals to be their informants. They give them a database of people to go after, to be patsies or to target for various reasons, I'm sure. And then they work the whole plan together. And this is what they're doing all day long.
Yeah, I'm going to read you a quote. This is from Barry's appeals lawyer from his appeals brief that he just filed. It says, quote, "This case involves a conviction for a conspiracy to commit federal kidnapping against the governor of Michigan and a, quote, conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction where the entire thing was a government-directed and produced scam. No one was kidnapped. The, quote, victim was aware of the hoax. No weapon was used and no one was hurt." That sums it up. Whitmer knew when they did the so-called nighttime drive-by of her vacation cottage that the FBI was driving the vehicles of. They literally, like the FBI coordinated with Whitmer's office, like with her team at a time and date that would be most convenient for her.
Right. And then she gets out there on the media.
So she was part of planning her own kidnapping?
Right.
Amazing.
People just that aren't paying attention, they come in and they buy it. They buy it. They're in the first veil. They're just buying the establishment narrative. They're barely paying attention to things, and they just buy it. Oh yeah, and then they talk about it and they spread it that way too. Let's pull up Gary's clip here. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
So I have a question. Okay, so are we basically saying that the FBI is who thwarted the insurrection, so to speak?
No. No. They created it.
That's what I'm saying. Like they spearheaded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yes, every single one of the groups that they claimed led what happened that day, they had informants in, and they were monitoring them leading up to this for a long time. We've learned just recently that Stuart Rhodes was under surveillance on the day of January 6th. This is the guy who is the head of the Oath Keepers, who they have convicted of seditious conspiracy. He never went inside the Capitol that day. But video has just come out of him that, by the way, I would suggest is exculpatory and was not played at his trial. So I wonder if there's a Brady violation there. Obviously, they're going to be appealing, I would hope. But in the meantime, he's still in prison. But this video just came out of him. They said that he was making calls and directing people to like go into the building or something. And he's standing around like this, holding his phone like he's going like this. He's going like this. And you can tell like he doesn't have a signal. So it's like, how is he calling and directing this thing? He's calling people and telling them what to do. When the man on this video, he obviously can't even get a signal on his phone. And I'll tell you, in DC, every time they have these rallies, because I've been to them, I went to the Million MAGA March, which was in November of 2020. There was tons of people there. You do not get a signal on your phone when you are in a crowd of people like that, unless you have, paid for some serious shit, like you got a satellite phone or something. You're not getting a signal. And so that video happened, but also they got in that clip, they found in the CCTV footage, somebody, a gloved hand goes up. So Rhodes goes out of view of the camera at some point. A gloved hand reaches up and physically turns the camera to follow Rhodes inside, not inside, but outside the Capitol. So it's somebody, those are fixed stationary cameras. That means somebody at the Capitol Police Command Center spoke to a informant or provocateur who's in plain clothes and told them, hey, Rhodes got out of view. We need you to go turn the camera so we can continue to track him. So it's like, oh, so you mean there was real-time surveillance and monitoring throughout January 6th?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the lead up to it, Rhodes must have been under surveillance. And I believe we learned he was, in fact. So if you thought that this guy was this big threat, why did you let him even go in to the Capitol that day? Why not arrest him while he was still at his hotel in Virginia?
Yeah. And Rhodes goes way back to the Ron Paul days.
Yes, that's right. We also learned his second in command was a federal informant, who, by the way, was going to testify at trial and then had a heart attack conveniently the day before.
Huh. It always works out that way, doesn't it? That's nuts. Let's bring this up right here to see. Gary, you want to set this up?
Yeah, so I was looking. Well, I came across this on TikTok, and it just went straight with what Christina was saying about feeling the setup. And I guess it's very prevalent in him because he's been on the streets for most of his life, whatever. But he's going to explain this 24-hour stream he was on. Just go ahead and play the clip.
Okay. So when we go upstairs, they got a whole nother skit for me. This is where my mind, they trying to put me in a ritual. You got snakes, you got wine, girls, fruit, you got a feast table prepared. It's a what, $5,000 to $10,000 a night, a suite, 6-7 bedrooms, balcony, and no girls except these 2 whores they brought for Charleston. 2 white whores at that. Boy, they trying to set this nigga up.
Tried to frame you.
I didn't eat anything. If y'all see how I was looking at that blonde-haired white boy.
Yo, this sound like the Get Out movie. You ever watched the Get Out movie?
No.
You might want to go watch it, man. You probably
So listen. So when they take me upstairs, I said, "God damn, Aiden, why I ain't staying up here?" He said, "Oh, next time, Monk, you're gonna work your way up here." I said, "No, I'm all right where I'm at. That's a bad motherfucker down there too, boy. Shit, you can keep me in the basement. The basement clean too now, nigga." So
why you didn't eat nothing? Why you didn't eat nothing?
You don't know when they go pausing you, nigga. That's how Vladimir Putin get all his enemies. Nigga, invite them out, pause them. You don't know who killed them, the cook or who. You don't know who go put glass in the food in the salad, nigga. You don't know who go put the poison in the drink where you can't come back no more, nigga. You don't know who go put something in your drink. You end up in a room, 2 white girls naked. They hollering, right, and you waking up saying, what? You don't know when they go Tupac you, nigga. You don't know when they go 12 years of slavery. That's how that nigga ended up in slavery, 12 years, eating with them white folk, woke up in chains. I saw the movie. I've been learning from the old niggas. When did white folks start cooking for niggas? And it's already set out on the table. Nigga, I walk with a different kind of spirit, and they dangling this shit out in front of me. While they trying to feed me food and on these white holes, I'm looking at this motherfucking big ass box with nothing but lights in it, and it's looking like something from heaven. I'm saying, man, what's that? That's the PC for you to stream, Mark. I'm having you one built. I said, whoa, niggas don't know nothing about this. Keep asking questions, nigga. They getting you a little knowledge. What else I'm gonna need? You're gonna need a server too, huh? But now, listen, I'm gonna tell them I'm gay. Listen, nigga, why you gonna tell them you gay? Nigga, this 2 bitches, girl. I got 1 dick. I can't 2 bitches with my 1 dick. That whole hand's gonna be everywhere. You keep her occupied. I got the other bitch. You heard me saying that in the microphone. I'm gonna tell them I'm gay. Nah, you don't need to tell them you gay. I only got 1 dick. Say, what's up, little mama? Oh, what's up, little mama? I'm treating him like an uncle 21, treating his 16, 17-year-old nephew, got him selling dope, fucking over him, having fun with him. Half-ass panning. So I'm having that kind of relationship. We having fun like a motherfucker. The nigga on the sideline, I'm watching the nigga because the nigga brought the energy already. So I'm watching how he moving, what he's saying. I'm paying very close. So they say, hey, Unc, we got a game that we're going to play. We're going to blindfold you. And you're going to put your hands in this box while you're blindfold, and you're going to try to feel and see what's in it. I said, I'm out.
Nah.
I'm out. I ain't going to do it then. Yeah, I ain't going to do this. Uncle. Nah, I'm one of them kind of niggas. There's some things I don't do, and I ain't doing it. Yeah, I ain't touching nothing. Man, man.
I don't quite understand what's going on here. You're muted, Gary.
Yeah, remember when we was talking about like that 6th sense, like you're not going to, like, you can be got by anybody. Now, what he's doing here, this is a guy, he's pretty much famous. He's very famous when it comes down to social media. He's been thrown all over TikTok, all over Facebook, everywhere. And he was invited into this place. He's saying it's a ritual, right? Because of the way it looks. He comes up there, it's a $10,000 a night freaking place. He's got these hookers that what seems like hookers. They're doing all these crazy things that just seem like a ritual. He's just severely, he's on guard because he's not sure what's going on. So instead of eating the food, he's like, I'm not eating the food because I don't know what's in the food. I didn't see it prepared, whatever. I'm letting you all see this because this is how a lot of us move. We move like him.
If something is just good to be true,
we get very
hard.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, they want him to put on a blindfold. I ain't putting on no blindfold for nobody. Period. I'm just not doing it. So I'm just showing you that there's another whole side of, what she's saying when it comes down to setting up somebody. We don't know what you're saying. You're treating me too well. Why? It's too good to be true. I don't want to take a risk. And that's what I'm leading into what you were saying, Christina. What is it you call it winning? It's so freaking intertwined. It's not just on that level. It can be on any level. This could be on a spiritual level. This right here, you're talking about the political level. He's talking about the spiritual level, ritual. You don't know what they setting him up for. He don't know. So he's like, look, I seen too many movies. I'm just going to protect myself. What's the worst that happened of staying sober and fasting for the day and not putting on blindfolds?
And just to piggyback off of what, just to piggyback off what Gary was saying, that is something, the way that we move. And when I say we move, that's the black culture, so to speak. Because I remember where an FBI informant who infiltrated Black Lives Matter, he got one of the people to actually purchase a gun for him. And as the informant is sitting up there manipulating him, he then tries to get him to go and kill somebody. And at that point, that's when the brother drew the line and was like, no, I'm not doing it. He still wind up getting locked up or whatever, or getting a charge for buying the informant a gun. But if things would have went the way that informant wanted, he would have got murder charges on him. But it was like, yo, yeah, you're giving me all this stuff, this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. At some point, it's like, whoa. Something ain't right here. And that's what saved him from catching a more worse charge than just buying somebody else, a gun. So that, I guess that's the point you're trying to go with, Gary. Like, yo,
yeah, like
why aren't these people on their guard?
If it feels too good, like, okay, so we're talking to a lot of individuals who are incels that don't get out much, don't know really what's going on in what I should say, real world, I guess, real life. I don't know what they call it, but they're coming in and they're just like, oh, this feels good, so let's go with that. I like how this feels. So my thing is like, not just tell the political part, tell it all. Let's just talk about all of it, every last part, every bit of it, because I believe that it's just, I believe there's chapters for every little thing. Like, there's people that can get me, and have me thinking like, oh, that's my best friend. The next thing you know, they got me hemmed up somewhere like, yo, how the hell that happened? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So any type of way we can get that going, that'd be crazy in my opinion. I think we just need to just talk about it all, and that's just, I'm just bringing that part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that I'm watching all this stuff unfold, because as I'm listening to you, there's so much other stuff that's coming out with people saying the similar stuff. Like, these type of narcissistic people, right? People are revealing how the court systems actually work. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. When it comes out, that some of it probably is cockamamie, but at the end of the day, it got my attention. How much of this is facade? How much is this is just play on words, double speak? I just learned about that daggone word not too long ago. Double speak. Just learned it. I was like, what is double speak? I read it up and I was like, do you know that they can freeze a turkey, right? And say it's partially frozen and sell it as fresh? I didn't know that, but they can do that because of the double speak crap. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, who wants to deal with all that stuff? That's insane. So yeah, man, I was reading to my kids about sugar, right? And I was saying, like, high fructose corn syrup, they say that it's the same thing as sugar, but it's not, right? Yeah. So you're sitting here buying all this stuff with high fructose corn syrup, and it's actually more potent than sugar. So you're wondering, like, I no matter what I eat, I keep getting fat. No, you're eating the wrong stuff. You know what I'm saying? But you wouldn't know that because it says protein on the front of it. It says protein. 4 grams of protein, you know what I'm saying? No MSG, and you know what I'm saying? And all these additives in the back. What's this word? I ain't never heard of that. Is that in the apple? I never seen that one before. That's a new word. But we just buy this crap and we keep eating it, and we wonder why we falling all over the place. It's everywhere. It's not just in that. I'm complete.
Yeah, macro to micro, man. Yeah, all the way. And I mean, it happens all the time. Like I said, like this YouTube world we're in, man. It seems like there's some people out there that just want to be in here. They're just here for drama. They're just here to pull other people down, And they can act like they're your friends for a long time, and then you turn around and find out one day they've been two-faced the entire time, trying to undermine you the entire time. I mean, it's it's just everywhere. It's pervasive. That's why we got to be out here talking about it. That's why we got to lay it out the way it is.
And I'd suggest that that's like modern society in general. You know, how many like friendships are you know, real, right? That are beyond superficial or just like acquaintances or something. You know, I feel like it's a general thing too with like look at like online dating, right? Where people are used to, and they're conditioned into swiping people or judging people on like a picture and like a little blurb that they write. Like that's ridiculous in and of itself, but it creates the idea of I can always find somebody else. So people start seeing each other as disposable. Well, this person doesn't meet all of they don't check all the boxes. I can find somebody better. Swipe, 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 you know, and it's like, it's just a ridiculous way of looking at things. But I feel like that says a lot about how society sees, how people see each other is just disposable, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
But see, that is what set up the people who don't have it like that, for them to get the loneliness, you know, get that feeling of being unwanted. And that's the people that now become the target for things like this. The way society moves now, it makes it so much easier for those who feel they're undesirable to feel even more undesirable, to make them more so go in a shell, to make them stay disconnected from, you know, from the world. And those are the people that they seek out to, you know, put in these terrible situations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Radix, you sent me a link to statements to the weaponization committee.
Yes, I have one more video if you want to play it. It's just a short one, but this is one of the guys, Joe Morrison. He's 29 years old. He has 2 young children and a wife who he may be away from for 42 years because the government decided he, quote, provided material support for terrorism, you know, when they framed him. So this is his statement to the committee, urging them to investigate.
My name is Joseph Morrison. I was entrapped, framed, slandered, defamed, and falsely convicted and imprisoned because of the weaponization of the DOJ, particularly the FBI. My constitutional rights were violated and used against me. Instead of investigating and following evidence, the FBI in my case, through CHS Dan Chappelle, at the guidance of Special Agents Henrik Impula and Jason Chambers, created and manufactured a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Dan Chappelle led all combat training and even paid for people to go to training at other CHS Steve Robeson's property in Wisconsin, who otherwise would not be able to attend. Without Dan Chappelle and the FBI, no plot would have ever happened, nor would have most parties.
This call is from a federal prison.
Please do the research into this case and see the facts, all the facts. Unseal all documents in this case, especially the text messages between Dan and his handling agents. Show the totality of the corruption to the American people. Don't just use this as a prop to appease your base or get votes. We are hurting. Our families are hurting. My wife, my children are hurting. My mother-in-law is hurting. Myself and these other men do not belong in prison. We belong at home, raising our children, loving our wives, helping our communities, working our jobs. You have the power and opportunity to right an injustice, to show the American people that the Constitution still matters, and that the FBI can't operate as the Stasi of East Germany, targeting and entrapping political opponents. You have the opportunity to go down in history as those who stand against the tide of injustice, to stand firmly for truth, liberty, and justice. All it takes for evil to prevail is for the good to be silent. So I earnestly ask you to do not be silent to this evil. If you are, history will remember you as cowards. Strong and courageous, may God grant you the wisdom and courage to stand for justice.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He could be in jail till 2063.
Jeez.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just excusing bad behavior over and over again. Like, we should have a very low tolerance for bad behavior in this world. Yet we have a very high tolerance for it.
That's right.
You know?
No, and you know, like I said, I want these agents charged criminally because they're the ones who plotted to kidnap and kill state governors. I want them to face the charges these men faced. I want them to face 20-year, 42-year prison sentences. They all should. Not only did they plan to kidnap and kill the governor, but they violated the rights of these men. They broke the law in numerous other ways. And so, yes, they should be tried. And I think that that'd be a deterrent, you know, for other government agents that think that they can get away with this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole practice should be outlawed. Someone's signing off on this. And the fact that they think this is okay to do, and then they get up on TV and play along with it. I mean, that's the establishment right there.
And I'll say,
that's them.
I'll name who signed off on the Whitmer hoax, who signed off on a terrorism enterprise investigation, because Chambers could not authorize that on his own, despite the fact that he said, I'm going to run it as a TEI, whether I get approval or not. Ultimately, Special Agent Charles Story signed off on the TEI. He is also liable, in my opinion, for what happened.
All of them
because
are,
he approved it. He was a superior there. He could have told Chambers no. He did not. They let it happen. They wanted it to happen. And then they promoted the people who did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, if it's not clear right now that corruption is in charge of running the show on all levels, hopefully this makes it clear, because that's the root cause issue. We got all this corruption going on. We're excusing bad behavior in our lives, in our government, in our politicians. People are like, okay, well, what's in it for me? So I'll just go vote for these people. Not worrying about everybody else, not even seeing how it affects them. Or when it comes back to smack them in the face.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
What you got here, Wallace?
Well, the video I have
the whole history of America is
Oh.
the history of rich white men.
Sorry.
Pretty much the premises of that video, the video I got queued up is, we're talking about the establishment. And the establishment, well, like you say, when they create that divide, is divide and conquer. So the more divided we are, the more the establishment gets to do whatever it is that they want to do. So when it comes to the way the FBI is doing everything, the CIA, you know, the establishment itself, all of those, this gentleman right here is going to break it down in a fine package, because the way we're divided right now is two ways: race and politics.
Yep.
Those are the two biggest dividers. So go ahead and play that clip.
Telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Let's remember, during the colonial period, mid-1600s, there was no such thing as white people. I know some people who are now called white find that shocking, right? Because they think whiteness is real, right? But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out there were other people to kill. We just killed each other, right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody, and everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. And so rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants, who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up, and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another, or they're going to rise up and take our stuff, right? Because after a while, these black folks who were enslaved Africans and these quote unquote white folks who were poor Europeans are going to figure out they're all getting played by these rich people, right? So ultimately, the rich figure out they got to come up with some way to get somebody in that group on their team. The easiest thing is to get the poor Europeans, right? Because at least they look like you. They sort of share some of the customs and the culture. So they all of a sudden create this thing called whiteness, and they say, now you're part of the club. Now we're going to let you testify in court, enter into contracts, vote, at least if you're a man, own a little bit of land, at least if you're a man, right? And we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. No more of that, because you're too good for that. And we're going to take the white men, now called white men, and put them on the slave patrol to keep black people in line. Give them a horse and a gun and a badge and make them feel big and powerful, right? They're still poor. They still don't have anything. They didn't pay the slave patrol well, right? Just exploited them, used them as a buffer between the elite and the other poor folks, particularly poor folks of color. And pretty soon, the rebellions that occasionally happened where black and white got together to overthrow the elite, those stopped because the divide and conquer had begun to work, right? You could turn people against each other by telling those poor white folks, they got to keep these black people in line. And so that divide and conquer gets initiated in the colonies. Rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. Fast forward to the Civil War era. And you have, I'm from the South, right? My people, the elite in my part of the country, right, actually announced that the reason they wanted to break away from the Union and possibly go to war with their brothers and sisters to the North was in order to maintain slavery and white supremacy. They said that at the time. We lie about it now. And we say it had nothing to do with that. But of course, at the time, they didn't have any shame about it, so they just said it openly. Right? The vice president of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, said that the cornerstone of the new government was the great truth that the Negro was not the equal of the white man. So that's the reason the Confederacy was formed and existed. But here's the trick. If I'm rich and I want to go to war to protect my ownership in other human beings, my property, but you're poor and you don't own any enslaved people, why the hell would you go fight to protect my stuff? Because I'm a rich person. I'm not going to fight. Rich people don't go to war, right? Rich people get poor people to go to war for them, whether it's in 1860 or whether it's during the 1960s or whether it's today, right? Rich folks get doctors to write notes for them that say that they have heel spurs, and that's why they can't go to Vietnam. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, you can Google that shit because he's sitting in the White House right now, right? Well, I can't go fight. I have heel spurs. Send some poor kids to do that for me, please. Right? So that's been a long-standing tradition. So the rich have to figure out a way to convince the poor to go fight for them. But that's a hard thing. That's like a hard sell, right? Like, how the hell, why would you do that? Why would you go fight to protect my property rights when you don't own anything? The only way you would do it is if that rich person comes to you and says, hey, listen, you gotta go fight because we gotta maintain our way of life, because if these people get free, they're gonna take your jobs. No, fool, they already got your job. That's how it works, right? Because if I'm white and I got to charge you $1 a day to work on the farm, but you can get a black person to do it for nothing because you own them, guess who got the job? Free got the job. Right?
Facts.
So in a sense, poor white folks would have been better off joining with black folks to overthrow the slave system. That would have raised the wage floor of all working people. But they got tricked by rich white men telling them that their enemies were black and brown. Fast forward to the 1930s. And you have white labor leaders. They're not even the elite, right? The labor leaders are not the elite, but they're the elite within the labor movement. And even they had fallen for it at this point. So they didn't want to integrate their unions. And they would say things like, well, we can't have black people and Mexicans and Chinese folks in our unions because if we do that, it's going to reduce the professionalism of our craft. We have to maintain the integrity of our profession. No, fool, you need more people in the damn union is what you need. And if you don't let those folks in, guess what happens when you go out on strike? Who is the boss going to use to replace you? They're going to replace you with the very same black and brown folks that you didn't want to work next to, right? And so at the end of and then you're going to blame them for taking your job rather than the white rich dude for giving it to them, right? Divide and conquer, telling not rich white folks that their enemies are black and brown. And now we fast forward to the president. We got the president of the United States becoming president on the basis of that same rhetoric, telling not rich white folks that the reason they don't have a job is because Mexicans took them, right? That's the argument. Keep in mind, there's been a net outflow of Mexican folks from this country, out of this country in the last 10 years. Right now, border crossings and actual in-migration at the lowest level they've been since the 1970s. So anybody who believes that is a damn fool, or somebody who does not understand how to do research on the internet, or someone who doesn't care, right? But he says it. He says the reason you don't have a job is those brown folks took them.
That's the end of it. But yeah.
Yeah, he brought the heat.
He broke it down for real.
Yeah, he brought the heat. He brought the heat.
What do you guys think on it?
I mean, I think it's very true. It's very sad. But this has been, I think, the history of the world forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's saying exactly what I've been saying is like that they divide us so that we can't do anything about them. Right. And
yeah.
They pick at the wounds.
But and that's the same, you know, like think about what was it, like Occupy Wall Street, that had everybody was like united to, we need to do something about the people who crashed the economy and like took everybody's jobs and caused everybody to have their homes foreclosed on. And then they turned it into an identity politics none show, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then nothing happened, of course. That fizzled out. And none of the bankers were held accountable. Of course, they never are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's right.
But yeah. Go ahead.
Crowd, if you want to get some questions in, man, go ahead and send your questions in. Questions for anybody on the panel, questions for Radix about the documentary, what she's doing. I would like to know what are the next steps for you in the documentary, and you know, get us up to date on that part.
Yes. Just to let you know, I got maybe another 20 minutes. But for next plan for the documentary, I don't know for sure if I'm going to be able to do it, but I still have to travel to 2 other places and also to interview 2 different people. So that's the thing why I have to fundraise for the documentaries, because it isn't like I'm just editing other people's video footage or something like that and editing together something and doing a voiceover. I have to travel to interview people in person, and it is very expensive to do that, even if you're just driving. Like I had to drive to Michigan, and I've had to go to other states, and it's a lot of work. It's crazy. I had to go to several different places already. So I also have, as I said, there's another trial starting on Monday in Antrim County. And I kind of I don't know if I'll be able to, but I want to at least go down there for the verdict, because I want to be there for those guys and their families. We have no idea what's going to happen. They're trying to, the Attorney General her office is trying to prevent them from being able to make entrapment claims at trial or even mention the word entrapment. Wow. So basically you can't mount a defense. That is their defense. Oh, so if you can't mention entrapment, you can't bring in any of the evidence of entrapment. So it's like, a show trial.
It's like, what are we doing here?
Yes, right. So the judge hasn't ruled on that yet, I don't think. But it's like the trial starts Monday. I guess we're going to get a ruling on that Monday. That's insane. How are you going to prepare for your case then if you don't even know if you're going to be allowed to mention your defense, what your defense is? That's crazy, first of all. And then second of all, I know one of these guys is going to do something that has other lawyers have advised most of them not to do. So I'm very interested in that, and I actually want to be there for that. So I'd like to go to Michigan next week. You know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. I mean, it's in 2 days from now, but you know, maybe for the verdict though. And then also I think about too, you know, how do I have a resolution to my documentary? Well, if this final getting the verdict of this final trial could be a good way to end the documentary. Because I feel like every time I feel like, okay, we can now move into editing, then something else happens, and I'm like, well, I've got to include that. You know, the story isn't over yet. So
constantly ongoing, pretty much.
It is. That's right. Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot going on also in the background, because we have these guys filing the appeals. There's investigations of the FBI going on right now by certain congressional committees and House committees, and we're trying to get their attention on this. I'm very much hoping that the documentary really provides the impetus for further investigations of this stuff, but I don't know when it's going to be completed or how long it's going to take. I was telling people I was hoping to get that I was going to hope to have it done by the end of the year this year. I think that might have been a little optimistic. Maybe early 2024. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I am very lucky. I have a very, very good editor. He cut my trailer for me, and he's going to be helping me with this. But I have to pay him a lot of money, and he's worth it, though, because there's so much footage to go through. It's so much work to do this. I mean, just going through, I have each person I've interviewed, there's hours of footage there because you need redundancy, or maybe you want somebody to re-say something a couple times so you can get a good take, because maybe you're not sure about that. So there's all this footage that he has to go through, and has to be cataloged, that has to be time stamped, and you have to go through and literally like transcribe the interviews and put timestamps so you can organize everything and find out this piece and that. It's so much that goes into it. And then I have to license music, I have to do all this other stuff, and all of it costs money. So hopefully my next trip will be probably next month, and that one's a little further than Michigan. I don't want to say where I'm going because I don't want to dox people's locations or anything like that, but I basically have to go all the way out in that area again, so probably looking at like a 14-hour drive. And it's such a pain because I have to like take all of this equipment, and you guys are seeing me here. I also do my videos from this part of my studio, so I have to take all of this stuff, has to be taken down and packed up and then put back together.
We know.
Oh, yeah.
We absolutely
right?
No, we are
It's
all content creators. So I know what it's like to take all your equipment up, and you're up there sitting there. Okay, let me make sure I don't forget anything because I'm going to be very far, and I don't want to forget the one thing that I do need.
And you always
have
forget.
extra stuff. Yes, and you're paranoid while you're driving. Did I get it? I think I got it.
know.
You know how I
Like,
remedied that? You know how I remedied that? I remedied that by I got me a to-go bag that has my equipment. I have a laptop. My camera has a wireless mic with great sound quality, and also I got this piece of tech right here that I can do all my live streaming on the go. It's like the computer itself, the YOLO box, an Android box where you hook up different cameras to it, a SIM card, the whole nine. So I get to do everything on the go. But yeah, my biggest thing is my laptop, and the camera with a wireless mic. The fact that I have those two things, and even if I don't, I know you're not a fan of Apple. My Mac, it can use my iPhone as a webcam. So kill two birds with one stone. So trust me, prior to that, I can relate having to grab this, don't forget that, and like it's a whole like your
always something
is like
happens.
a whole suitcase itself, all your equipment. Like
Yes. Oh yeah. I have
man,
multiple bags for the
you
equipment.
should see the equipment that I was taking with me darn near everywhere we wanted to go. It was insane. And don't forget an extension cord. Don't leave an extension cord behind. It's the worst because you're like, where's my long one? No, this one. No. My long one. It sucks.
So hey, Radix, so with the documentary, man, I'm really on board with trying to help you get this out. I really am. Tonight and beyond. And I really, what can we do? Is it access? Is it time? Is it money? What can the crowd do right here? You got us. What can we do right here to help you out? In what way? And what are the things, the other intangible maybe things you need to have go right to get this documentary out? Because it's really important. And I'd love to see you get this out before the election.
Oh, definitely. It will be done before that. There's only a few, maybe 2 more places I have to go. And I think one of those guys might be willing to meet me halfway. So my drive for that might only be 6 to 8 hour drive, which is not unreasonable, I think. I really feel like I could get this kicked out, at least the filming for everything done. And depending on how long the trial goes, that starts Monday, I believe it's projected to run maybe just 2 weeks. 2.5 weeks. We don't know, of course, because it's always just a rough estimation. So I'd like to be there for that, and maybe that's my third trip, is to be there for the verdict in that. And so we probably could have it done, if not by the end of 2023, early 2024. I would say definitely before the election for sure. And it'd be interesting timing for it to come out early that year, maybe like January or February 2024, and just show people, because they're going to be ratcheting it up again for the election season. They're going to resurrect the Boogaloo movement and all this other nonsense that only exists every few years, only when there's an election season, and then it very quickly disappears and recedes into the background till they trot it out again when it's convenient. So I would say the best way for people to help with the documentary, I have the Give, Send, Go fundraiser. That's a great way to help me, because all of the funds will be used it all goes for my traveling, to pay my editor, to license music, to do all the things you need to do to actually make this like a legitimate production. And what we really are trying to do is to get it picked up by a distributor. We are hoping that some of these bigger media outlets can see the level of quality of work we're able to do. We're going to try to put together some media packages to send out or whatever to these distributors to get them interested in distributing the documentary, because I want it going out to as many people as possible. If you're unable to donate, I know it's hard for everybody. Times are tough financially right now, for sure. If you're unable to donate, another way that you can help is just by sharing the trailer on social media, talking about it, posting it. If you are somebody that's good with editing, you can help post clips. I've done so many interviews talking about the case, talking about the documentary. People can do clips and post those clips. All stuff like that brings attention and different eyes to it. And then, you can just post a link to the website, which is kandkfilm.com, which you'll see under my name here. If you can see it here on the screen, the letter K and K Film, because we didn't want to buy kidnapandkill.com. Because if I'm not, on a list, I will be soon if I do that. But I already know I'm being surveilled and monitored myself, obviously, throughout this entire time. So that's great. But yeah, just sharing it on social media helps, help getting the word out about the case. Just subscribe to the documentary YouTube channel. I still don't even have 1,000 subscribers there yet, which is crazy, because the trailer has been viewed so many times, but people just don't subscribe. And it's like, no, you need to subscribe to get the updates, because I'm going to be putting them there on the channel for it.
It's crazy. People tend to forget when you don't say subscribe to the channel. Like,
it's true. That's a good point. People don't remember to. Like, you apparently, I'm like that too, though. So hey, I can't talk crap about people. But
I'll watch content and I'll forget to thumbs up. I'm like, darn it, I forgot to do the thumbs up. So yeah,
and you're a content creator. Shame.
Exactly.
And it helps with the algorithm.
Yes,
I know. Guilty as charged, but at least when I realize it, I go back and give the thumbs up.
Yo, so I ain't gonna lie. I forget to thumbs up my own damn stuff. So forget it. I'd be like, oh, I didn't thumbs up that one. Let me go ahead and thumbs. Since we all talking about thumbs up, chat. Will y'all go ahead and hit the thumbs up button while you're at it?
We're mentioning subscribing to channel
and subscribe.
Yes.
She should at least get 50 new subscribers on this live alone.
Exactly.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, and please do that.
Like that.
We're streaming in many different places. Please make sure to stop by all the places and give it a thumbs up so we get this information out. It's really key. And just putting out the information, explaining it, showing people how it works is what's going to make it not work for them. Right.
Oh, yeah,
Then we'll start to be able to
exactly.
remove that enablement. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And I would suggest to people too, if you can, I know that, look, some people are very black pilled and they think calling your politician or writing to them is pointless. That's not necessarily true. I do encourage people to reach out to your local politicians, reach out to your congressmen, reach out to your senators and write to them about the case. Let them know about the documentary. Let them know about what's happening to these men. And it's not just them. This is just one case. This is a really big, egregious case, but there are tons of other smaller cases like this that you just didn't hear about. This case got so much attention because they charged these guys federally, but there were 8 other men charged in the state case for providing material support that nobody talks about or covers. You know, how many people even know that the third trial for this case starts on Monday? Most people don't know. They only know of the federal case. You know, Barry was in there in Nuevo County with guys who got strung up on gun charges because of ATF informants and all kinds of crazy shit. You know, how weird that like almost every person in the jail is there for some government fabrication. So I talked to his cellmates and interviewed some of his cellmates in there, and they had stories of like they got framed by an informant or got strung up by the government, whatever. And like no one would hear about that person's story or their case because it's just one person in one jail, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that also I did prison interviews with these guys. People are going to see the conditions of Nuevo County jail. And I think that that's going to be jarring for some people, maybe who don't know what the prison system is like or how horrific and corrupt it is. I think that is going to be a part of the film as well. It's just like the entire system is wrong. It's financially incentivized. You know, the legal system, the courts, they all make money off of this. The prisons, they even have for-profit prisons now that are completely privately owned. Where's the oversight of that? And by the way, there is slave labor happening in these prisons where
Yes,
these
it
inmates are
is.
getting paid
Hey,
pennies.
yo,
And they're working
listen.
hours a day for corporations who are making tons of money.
I got
Because
another
nobody
clip.
cares about
I'm gonna
that.
go get it. and
No, it's
I'm gonna
true.
say it this
It's all
time.
connected.
My clips are a little raunchy. I'm just gonna say it. It's too late. You already know, but they were a little wrong.
At least we got the heads up now.
That's
Right.
It's
Exactly.
Yeah. No, but it is all connected. It's all part of that cycle.
Alex says,
abusive
"Night
cycle of
kids,
control.
you shouldn't be up this late. No way." Shoot. As a matter of fact, let's keep it a buck. Let me just say this: are we really still like doing that? Like our kids know way more than we do. I be sitting here listening to my son. I be sitting there with a pad and a paper, like they do that now. That's what they talking about. Dang, really? I gotta go to your school. I'm gonna learn some stuff.
They're informants in themselves, man.
They're
That's
informed
what's going on.
tremendously, bro. Like, listen, there's no reason to try to keep your kid, you know, chill. No, listen, sweetheart. We gonna let you know something. There's some crazy people out there, and you too innocent. We gonna have to, you know, toughen you up a little bit. Okay, daddy, all right. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need. We need that. I'll be right back.
I got you one. My kids don't even have access to Google or the internet like that, and they still be knowing stuff that I'm learning from them. Like, wait, how did you hear about this?
Bruh. I stayed away from cable, right? The only thing they had was the Roku box. That's it. And it was the old Roku box.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Real old. We're talking like 2019 Roku box. I'm saying like their phones old as dirt. They coming to me saying, "So, Dad, can you explain pansexual?" I'm like,
Oh.
Yeah.
What? Okay, Google. What's pansexual?
Yeah.
Like, dang.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But these kids nowadays, they're definitely
It's
too much.
hard to keep them protected from that stuff too, because even if you do
Yeah.
like limit their time that they have on devices and put like parental controls on stuff, they still have friends who won't have that stuff, and they'll go to their friend's house and they'll, watch something that they're not allowed to watch or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
They talk. Kids talk.
Right.
And you know what?
Exactly.
And the other thing we forget is groomed kids groom kids. And we have to be aware of that too. We can't, we can't avoid the topics. We can't. I believe that what we need to do is start at the very beginning, like
that on a nail.
with media
Groom
studies,
kids.
education. Yep, it's
Yeah.
true. But we start with media studies, education early. How does media work? How does it trick you? That's what I did with my son. Before he ever got to see any kind of full shows or anything, we'd watch things like music, or we'd watch things like that weren't someone telling them what was going on with the world. Just like, it was just like entertainment and like sports something. But we cut out the commercials. We'd always turn the commercials off, mute the commercials, right? But I started explaining to him how that persuasion works in media, how these things all work. And he got it, but that helped protect him going forward from a lot of stuff, right? It still isn't all of it. You still got to keep your eyes on the internet. You got to keep your eyes on what they're doing in gaming, because there's other kids out there talking to them all the time about things. But when you prepare them a little bit earlier, before you give them an iPad to run around with or something like that, right? You don't do that. You do it with them. You show them what it's about. You show them why it's influential. You talk to them about the nitty gritty stuff about the influence on it and how it could be harmful right up front before they even get their hands on it, before they're even in it. It's just media studies. How does television work? What's a sound bite? How does juxtaposition work? Things like that teaches them, and they're smart enough to learn. They're sponges,
Oh yeah.
And for me, I love it. Like, I don't shun away from like the commercials and stuff like that, because I use it as a teachable moment. And I remember that happened when with the kids, we watched the Buzz Lightyear movie, and then it showed the girl marrying the girl and then them having a baby or whatever and stuff like that. And my kids were like, how is that possible? And from right there, that segued into breaking that stuff down. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, since we're on this conversation, let's talk about, the trans community. Broke that down to like, hey, you're gonna
Keep it
get,
going.
you're gonna get people that, in your mind, they look like a man or whatever, and they present as a woman. I'm like, you're gonna run into that. But at the same time, whatever you think, show respect for them. But make sure you keep whatever your belief is, that's your belief, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? So like, I had the conversation, and I'm like, I was kind of happy that this moment came up watching this movie, because now I use it as a teachable moment. So anything that they can be exposed to, I'd rather it be exposed to them while I'm there, and it becomes a teachable moment. So if I can run into it from a commercial, a movie, a show, whatever, I'm like, thank you. This made my job so much easier to segue into this. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw an article from it's this newsletter called PITT. It's like Parents with Inconvenient Truth about trans or something. And they have different stories from different parents across the country. And one of these ladies said that her daughter, like in her class, and I think these kids are maybe 5th grade or something, 5th, 6th grade, like young kids. She said, like, out of there maybe were 12 girls in the class, like 9 of them decided that they were trans.
Wow.
How is that a thing? Like, that just seems crazy to me. In one class, like, there's no way. They just are doing it because they think it's cool. It's like a trendy thing.
Yeah, which again is abuse. I mean, honestly, it's abuse.
Groomed. Yeah, they get groomed. And, these parents write about these chat rooms and stuff, these Discord, Reddit, whatever. They have these places where adult trans people, tell minor children groom them into thinking that they're trans, and then encourage them to try to defy their parents or to do something that is life altering and horrific. And they'll teach them, they'll try to teach them how to obtain puberty blockers, or they'll in times even offer to give them these hormones and stuff. It's crazy. This stuff happens out in the open on these platforms, and nothing happens. Nobody is held accountable for that. We've had people that have had Discord servers banned over memes, but here you have adults grooming children and talking about sexually explicit things, and talking about getting them drugs, and that's fine.
Showing them pornography.
Yeah,
showing them
that too,
pornography.
that as well.
Nudity.
Yes. And then developing inappropriate relationships with these people. It's like, what are you doing as an adult talking to minor children all day? Like, I'm sorry, but there's something wrong with you.
Oh yeah.
If that's what you're doing all day. I don't know any normal grown adult that spends their time looking for minors to talk to on the internet. Even like, it just seems bizarre to me, Yeah.
Yeah, you come through the sexual the registry, the sex offender registry, and you look at the charges those people have on them. You'd be surprised. 80-90% of them have to do with online activity. It's right. And a lot of older people, a lot of weird looking people, but it's all online stuff. Like, really, even like elderly people sometimes. I was shocked when I was going through that registry across the country looking at people, and I was like,
wow.
Yeah, how many there are. You go to any city, just type in an address, and certain software, certain websites will pull up all the sexual people on the sex offenders registry for you. So you'll see who's in the area. You can see who around you is on that list, right? And you can read through the charges. So I went through with my son, and we looked at them. I was like, see, these are the people that are out there.
Yeah. Those are the people that if you ever see, you run from,
Mm-hmm.
That's a smart thing to do. I mean, I just think it's disgusting. And these pedophiles make me sick. Like, they're trying to say that they're a orientation, and that everyone needs to affirm them, and like they're gonna try to push to legalize their sickness, shall we say.
Yeah. And who supports
That's
them? The
going.
establishment.
Yes, of
the establishment's
course.
right there to help them do their thing.
Yeah.
And make sure
and what better way to normalize pedophilia than through trans and whatever,
Yeah.
Think about that. If a child can choose to mutilate themselves genitally, then what else can they decide or consent to? If
And
they
that's
can
what the
consent to
Yep.
sex changes,
That's
like a
what- yeah.
life-altering decision like that.
Yep.
No,
'Cause they're
that's
always an attack.
unacceptable.
They're gonna go into, well, if they can make a decision like that, then they can, decide
Exactly.
on. They're looking at it as, well, getting a sex change is probably more of a difficult choice than, the actual act. So we might as well lump like.
Yeah, they're sick.
Yep. And what it is it's always an attack on parental rights. That's why, as parents, we have to come together. Like, Parents United is a real thing I want to start, where we come together just to protect children. Period. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, where you come from. If you're a parent, you're in the club, right? And we have one job, that's to protect the innocents and to protect our children, right, from this stuff. And when we come together as parents, we're the largest
terrorist if you do that.
Right. We're the largest lobby in the world. Parents are. When we come together just as parents, there's no group in the world that outnumbers us.
That's true.
Anywhere.
And don't let the FBI scare you by like saying that they're going after the parents that complain to school board meetings and stuff. We've seen the memos. We know that they are doing stuff like that, but that isn't a reason not to complain at your child's school board. Who cares if the FBI monitors you for doing it and calls you a terrorist? Like, that's your job as a parent, is to protect your child.
It's a fight. You got to fight it. The fights are rough. They're tough, but you gotta fight it. That's our job as parents. It's our job.
check out these two screens that one screen that I shared. Like, this is how bizarre and crazy it's getting.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow. And then you got
yeah.
See,
this is
that's
my
tactical
state.
parental rights.
Yeah,
This is my state.
So you know, it's
that's where I'm from too.
The other thing is that you cannot, there's nowhere you can run to escape to get away from this stuff. There's not going to be, even if there was a place to go, right? Where eventually you're going to run out of places to go. You know, there were people fleeing California saying, oh, it's become so bad, we're going to go to more red states. But they just come here and then they change everything anyways. You know, it does, you cannot outrun it. You have to stand your ground and you have to fight for things or they will take it from you. It's that simple.
Yeah.
There's nowhere that you're going to go that you can get away from this stuff. You know, America used to be seen as a, you know, place of freedom. I don't think anybody thinks that anymore. I would say
it's going to go back there though.
It will.
That's
It
true.
will eventually. But right now, I mean, this is like the Soviet Union. And I think that this is another thing I'll say before I got to get going. I want to leave people with this thought because we're coming into this in this next year. I think that what we're going to see moving into 2024 is we're going to see more of these sort of Soviet show trials. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but there's another push to go after J6 people. I feel like they're going to do they need another event, right? They've got to orchestrate something. So I have a feeling that, look at how they just have indicted Trump. They've indicted these the people the elderly people in Michigan, the false electors. They weren't false electors, they were alternate electors, and Joe Biden was going to do the same thing. John Podesta had it in his little plan there for what they were going to do if the election was contested. You know, Biden had a plan to have alternate electors. The Democrats have done that before, but now they're going to charge elderly people with felonies for this, and they're going to try to criminally prosecute them. It is outrageous. It's ridiculous. But I think that we're going to see more and more crazy stuff like this moving into 2024 of just outright that they're just going to try to arrest people that they don't like, people that dissent.
But see, I don't put it on a red or blue thing. I put it on both parties because then you got Florida who had people that were voting, and they have a law where if you're a felony, you can't vote. So they would send these people information saying, hey, you can vote. They put their votes in. It's supposed to go through a checking process, but they don't. They put in their vote. Then months later, the state come down cracking, oh, you violated a federal law, so now you're going to jail. So it's all around. Like, look it up. Florida, they set it up where they sent felons saying, hey, you're eligible to vote.
That's crazy.
They voted, then it came
And
back,
then
they got arrested. And that is a red state. So it's red and blue. That's why I keep saying, like, yo, it's bananas all the way around. That's why we need stronger communities. Because at the end of the day, lawmakers and all that, they don't give two shakes about us.
No, they don't.
It's us that are supposed to care about each other and work with one another to make things better. Because guess what? If we stand united, it's nothing they can do. All this stuff that they're getting away with, they're only getting away with it because we're divided.
No, they know that, and we know that. But the thing is that here's the thing, right? In order for us to really start making it really work, and this is something that I was talking to you about winning reality earlier, we have to start pulling our money off the system. We have to. First of all, we have to get control of our money. Then we got to get control of our food supply. And in doing that, we're going to create relationships. You start paying your bills in person as opposed to going and having electronically sent over. Because let's be real, who has your money?
Yeah.
They have your money. No, the phone. The bank don't even have your phone. I mean, your money. The phone has your money. when you go into Cash App, what do you see? Oh, I have credits. You don't have money, you have credits. Those are credits. You don't have any physical money. That's a credit, right? If you send that credit off, guess what? They're going to eat it up with fees. You want that money fast? It's going to be, $1 fee.
Yeah, that's right. They do that. Yeah.
Right. So, you can wait the 2 days, but we can give it to you right now for $1 or 3% or whatever the heck it is. You do that 50 times. Next thing you know, you're like, dang, I done gave, Cash App damn near $100 in 1 month on fees.
Yeah.
Right. We have
That's
to pull
insane.
our money off the system. That's going to encourage you to go get money orders. We have a system that's already in play. Letters, stamps, money orders, Western Union. You can pull your money off the system and use our old way of transferring money. And now you start getting connection with other people, right? You're connecting with your the clerk at the bank, right? I'm gonna need XYZ sent here, blah, 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 blah. You go and you once a month go and you play your creditor directly if you can possibly do that. Get to know each other, start talking to each other, get money circulating in the community again. It actually start pulling money off. Next thing you know, stuff start happening. Oh, okay, we got money to fix that. We got money to fix that. And you could count your money much easier. All right. They want you swiping. Why do you think every bank, they say, if you swipe 12 times, we'll give you a free account? They want you swiping.
Yeah.
We got to get in control of our money before we can do anything else.
I bet people have no idea how much money they spend each month. Also, how many people you're ordering DoorDash and shit and you have no idea how much money you spent on that crap every single month.
Fee.
It's so true.
You don't know what you're shoveling in your mouth.
The online shopping, Amazon,
it's too convenient.
It is too easy. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's entirely too convenient. We do everything online now.
Also,
you know what I mean?
For the local thing, as you said, start learning who the people are, your local politicians, I would suggest to, even your local sheriff, because if I understand correctly, if these men had known the sheriffs in their state and had a better relationship, I think that the sheriff could have chosen not to execute the FBI's warrant, or could have told them, no, you're not doing this in my area. I think that there is something like that where it's either sheriffs, it might be them, that they have the ability to say no to the feds for this shit. And I would very much encourage people to look into that. Look into who your sheriff is and start developing relationships with them, because you never know where that might benefit you. And this is another idea that I have too, of educating sheriffs about the FBI and the militaristic training that they have. They just executed 4 different people in less than 2 weeks doing these pre-dawn raids. One of them was an elderly man named Craig Robertson who couldn't get around except with a walker. They literally shot him and executed him. Now, we don't know, I don't know much about the other 3. One was in Henderson, Tennessee. One was on August 8th in New Mexico. And then there was another one. It's 4 in a 2-week period. 4 people just killed in these pre-dawn raids. I think sheriffs have the ability to stop this stuff, or, local law enforcement has an ability to contain it at least. And I think that that's something that they should be doing. And if we had more people, communicating in the local community, more people would be aware of this stuff. And then you can come up with a way for your community to protect itself from it. You could also think of this. If the FBI tried to pull this shit and do a raid on somebody at 6 o'clock in the morning, and every single neighbor got outside and stood in front of that house and said, no, you're not doing it and you're not arresting these people, I think at some point, they might think that it would be too much of a hassle, to go through all those people. But people don't stand up for each other anymore. People don't even know their neighbors, so they're not going to defend them. It's sad, but this is how it is. And I really do encourage people to try to get more involved in your local community.
They did a great job in getting us not to talk to one another. An excellent job, a superb job. Time's up, by the way, just letting them know. They know it. It's just like, I mean, things like this are spreading. It's not going to, it doesn't seem like it is, right? Because numbers are low for whatever reason. It doesn't seem like it, but when you really sit down and think about it, let's say we have 40 people on this live now. Let's say we have 40 people, just to be safe. Out of that 40 people, those 40 people are going to tell somebody about this situation. Whether it's, let's say, for example, I know if we get 1,000 people going, making this to rock this thing, it's going to go crazy. That's just, you need 1,000. You get 1,000 people pushing, it'll start going crazy. It'll go nuts. 1,000 people start spreading the news. We're connecting. We're getting to know one another. Yes, we're going to weed you out if you're crazy, of course. We have to. All right. If you're but we like the crazies too, because you know what I'm saying? What is that double agent type of stuff? Hey, you crazy? Yeah, I'm crazy. All right. So we know you crazy. They don't know you crazy yet. Can you go over there and be crazy for them and tell us what they doing over there? Yeah, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? Since we said it best. Yo, take their informants, turn them around and make them, you know what I'm saying? Like let's use the original way of doing it. Let's go back to it, but let's keep it civil as much as we possibly can. I don't want a major problem, so let's try to keep it civil. That's why I'm keep trying to say I don't know what to do. All I know is the best way I can do is my part. I'm focusing on my culture because my culture is jacked up to bits, so I'm focusing on them. Okay, I'm talking to them saying, "Hey guys, the man ain't the problem." Okay, hey guys, the ladies ain't the problem.
You know what though? Focusing on just on your culture is not necessarily a bad thing, because if you focus on your culture and get your culture right as much as possible, that's going to be beneficial to the community in itself, because that's going to make those people better versions of themselves, and they're going to turn around and reflect that on society.
Yes.
So everybody's going to reap the benefits from it. So it's not necessarily like people look at it and cringe like, you're only focused on, but that's all I know how to do right now.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I have like my lane and I stay in it, I'm not trying to be an expert in everything, and I'm certainly not.
You're good at
I'm good at this one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
I'm good at
you jam on it. You jam on it, man.
Exactly. And then you just hammer on it,
I'm gonna stay in this lane for a little while.
I think that's what we're all doing right here.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I was just talking about that to winning. He was like, I'm really good. He's like, I'm all right with getting people together. I was like, you way better than me. And he's like, well, you way better with the shorts. I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna be killing it, because I'm gonna put the short out and you're gonna go get the people and we're gonna talk about it.
I'm trying to get better with the shorts. I'm trying.
Get out of here. You don't need to be. You bring the topics you bring. But Christina,
hey, the last couple shorts I did were all right. And the next one I'm gonna do, the next short I got in mind,
you
give
me a run for my money, baby. Give me a run for my money.
You're gonna be like, why?
Give me a run for my money.
I'm not saying nowhere did I say it's on Gary Lamb's level.
I want you on Gary's Lamb's level. But you said if you're gonna do shorts, let's do shorts.
You gonna see.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming, Christina. I know you got to go. Thank you so much for coming up here and sharing your documentary with us. I'm just want to say thank you, because I didn't know anything about this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, now you do.
I just didn't. Yeah, now I know.
Now you know. When you hear about plots to kidnap governors and storm state capitals, hey, there might be an FBI agent behind that.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well,
it truly is.
You know what?
In a lot of ways.
You know what? A documentary that I would suggest everybody should watch is Drugs as Weapons Against Us, the CIA war on, what is it? The CIA drugs. Let me pull it up for you guys.
Yeah.
They got it on Amazon.
Yeah,
share the screen.
Yeah, we're talking about this with.
What you said?
I'm sorry. What you guys are talking about is that immersion, man. Immersion, where everybody's in their lanes doing what they do best, and that's called spontaneous order. You see, that's the opposite of authoritarianism. It's where we're not being told what to do. We're doing what feels right and what we can do to add to society. And when we're all doing that, things are going great. So when someone starts getting involved and telling people how things are going to be, what you can say, what you can do, and picking sides and dividing people, that's when we start falling apart, right?
Yeah.
So when we're working in an immersive way, we all start to come together just like we are right now, all 4 of us right here, right?
Yeah.
That's how we all got here. It wasn't because someone told us to be here. It wasn't because it was like we were ordered to do it. We just felt in our hearts what to do is right, and we put our skills together, and we went out there and we did it, and now here we all are, and it's going to keep growing that way. Absolutely.
Project 46, what is up, pimping? I'm so glad you was able to make us up.
Oh, there it
I
is.
got the name.
There you go.
It's called Drugs as Weapons Against Us, the CIA War on Musicians and Activists. Very good documentary.
That's both me.
Very good documentary.
There you go.
Very good documentary.
I'll definitely look into it. I like stuff like that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just finished watching what's it called? The new show on Netflix about the Sackler family that did OxyContin. That made the oxys. Oh yeah, I forget what it's called. I just watched it though. It's the show about their family. They're discussing.
What is the family called?
The Sackler family. Sackler. Yeah. The Netflix show, I forget what it's called, but it just came out. So y'all will see it up there when you look it up. I encourage people to look it up and watch it because in the beginning of each episode, they actually have real families who lost people to opiate overdose or whatever.
Painkiller. That's the name of it.
Painkiller. That's what it's called. Yes. It's very good. And very accurate from what I can remember of growing up in South Florida. Absolutely seeing the pain clinics on every freaking corner. Palm Beach County had to put a moratorium to stop the new ones from opening because they were just opening across from each other and people just line up like to buy it like it was candy or something. It's so destructive. And it's awful. And they talk about too, it's such a good show. They talk about like the crack epidemic and how that was kind of created by the government and how that destroyed people. And it's so I really encourage people to watch that show. It's very good. It's a little weird. It's on Netflix. Yeah, it's called Painkiller. A little weird, but very good. And I like how they have like the real people's stories in the beginning of each episode. They just remind people like the show itself has some fictionalized elements to it, but most of it's based on fact. And it reminds people that like there's a real people, real stories. A lot of the stuff you see in here really did happen. I mean, it's ridiculous. Down to the OxyContin stuffed animal that they would give to fucking pharmacies.
Wow.
Which I thought was like, I thought that wasn't real. That was just something they were doing for the show. I looked it up. That shit was real. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So I encourage people to watch
there's
it.
always some truth in a lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
there's always some truth in a lie. Like,
Yeah.
that's the best advice I could give.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope y'all
Definitely.
Hey,
have
Radix, thank you so
a
much.
good night. Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah, you too. No, good luck with everything. Hey guys, support Radix. Please go to the Gifts and Go and help her out and tell other creators too, bigger creators. Go tell Ricardo Loft, tell Joe Neerman over Good Logic. Tell them to get her on, right?
Hello,
This is gonna reach a bigger,
right?
even bigger audience. People need to know this. Yeah, no, please help her out in this way. And also, please come back when you can and once you get everything straight, come back. Let's get an update. Maybe right before the premiere or whatever you got to do. I know you're going to be busy. You're a mom. You're a documentary maker. You're taking on the establishment, man. You are a hero.
Oh, thank
All right.
you.
So thank you
I
so much.
appreciate that.
You are. You are. You're part of solution culture right here with the rest of us, man. Thank you so much for being that. And we are here to support you. And we'll be there helping you out along the way. You got our support. We're
Thank
right here
you.
for you.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So,
Bye.
guys, you want to call it, or do you want to? Are we going to keep talking? Oh, bye. All right. I guess we're good.
Yeah.
I was going to play the address.
Nah, for me, I'm gonna call it a night.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna call it a night
head
too.
on.
Listen, if you call it a night, I'm calling a night too. Nigga, I'm calling it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hey. Yeah, man. Well, hey, hang tight for a second. We'll do the outro. It's only a couple minutes, and then we'll be back out. So, hey, guys, thank you guys all so much for being here tonight. It was a great stream. Wherever you're at, wherever you're watching, thank you so much. Your support means everything. Spread the word about this message. Come back, see us next Thursday for Repairing History Together, Gary Lamb, and also check out Matters of Opinion on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Definitely. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for being here again. It means the world. We'll see you next week. And until then, y'all keep on winning.
Stars make you want to smile, and the days come, brings new ones. Dark streets coming down, never